Hello, everyone, and welcome to the class of 2023's last lecture at UNC Chapel Hill. My name is Keisha Solanki, and as Senior Class Vice President, it is an honor to introduce tonight's exceptional speaker. Tonight's event is inspired by the concept of a last lecture, which originated from a poignant and inspiring talk given by computer science professor Randy Pausch at Carnegie Mellon University in 2007. The last lecture invites inspiring individuals to share their wisdom, experiences, and life lessons, as if it were their last talk, and we are honored to have you all here to join us for this special event. Tonight, we hear from an accomplished leader and communicator, Susan King. King is the John Thomas Kerr Distinguished Professor who served as the Dean of the UNC School of Media and Journalism from 2012 to 2021. Before coming to UNC, King's career spanned journalism and strategic communication, with more than 20 years spent in Washington, D.C., as a reporter and anchor covering politics. She worked for major news networks, including ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN, and also hosted shows for NPR, such as The Diane Rehm Show and The Talk of the Nation. King's career also includes serving as a presidential appointee in the U.S. Department of Labor, where she served as the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, as well as the Executive Director of the Family and Medical Leave Commission. In 1999, King joined the Carnegie Corporation of New York as Vice President for External Affairs, where she led communications and established the Carnegie Knight Initiative on the future of journalism education. She's received several awards for her contributions to journalism, communication, including the DeWitt Carter Reddick Award for Communication Excellence and the Earl Gluck Distinguished Service Award. After such a successful career, King joined UNC as the Dean of the School of Media and Journalism, where she revitalized the undergraduate curriculum, centralized student services, and oversaw the construction of the Curtis Media Center. Under King's leadership, the school also exceeded its fundraising goal of $75 million. And during her tenure as Dean, King was a vocal advocate for award-winning journalist Nikole Hannah-Jones. King's contributions to UNC and the wider field of journalism and communication have been truly remarkable, and we are privileged to have her with us tonight. Dean King, I have been long an admirer of yours, and it is a personal joy to introduce you to the class of 23. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dean Susan King.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you are all here. I am so very proud to be with you, and I wish you were closer. I don't have my glasses on. And a special thank you to some of the students that I'm teaching this year. No extra credit for attending tonight, though. I want you to know one thing. I will not be talking for 50 minutes. I am a journalist, in fact, a broadcaster, as you heard, so time is of the essence. But I hope I'll share with you some of the insights that I've gotten during my time here. It's such a privilege to be on this campus and with you. I've always felt that the students at UNC are a special brand of students. You work really hard to get here. It is not easy. And my expectation for all of you is that you become leaders of North Carolina and of the country. It won't always be easy, as I'm about to share with you. But I know something about you because I'm teaching 2 classes of seniors this year, and I have an idea of what you've been through the last few years. I am incredibly proud of all of you at this moment, this class of 23, because of course you're smart and accomplished, but you are more. You are survivors and dreamers and inventors and truth tellers, emphasis on truth tellers. You made it through the pandemic with new values about community, about what is important, determined to really forge a life for yourselves that believes in standing for values and justice. You have learned to respect those who are different from you. And I am an optimist because of my relationship with you, because of what I learned from you. You are not trying to make your world smaller or populated by people who think exactly like you. You are welcoming, challenging, and curious about the other. You asked me to give this last lecture because I was the dean who invited Nicole Hannah-Jones to join UNC and our Hussman School as the night chair, and because I stood with her until she won, grudgingly, tenure from the Board of Trustees. So I want to talk to you about two ideas that I teach in my leadership class: courage and loyalty. Both are central to leadership, yet they can sometimes be in conflict. When I asked Nicole, who was such a heralded journalist and one of our alums, to join the UNC faculty, it was because she was one of the most influential and important journalists of this generation, and because I knew that she was committed to giving back. She hadn't thought about teaching at that moment, but I convinced her that a prestigious night chair would give her a platform to continue doing journalism that made a difference. And at the same time, she could also train a new generation of leaders like you to do great work. Our faculty was very excited to welcome Nicole, even though such an accomplished and award-winning journalist could make the rest of us look pretty lackluster in comparison. I don't have a MacArthur Genius Award or a Pulitzer or many of the other awards that she's received. She is an amazing woman journalist, national name. So it didn't take courage to see the talent and the amazing commitment of Nicole Hannah-Jones. And it wasn't an act of defiance to seek tenure for her. The night chairs had always had tenure. Our campus leadership was thrilled to learn that Nicole would join us here in Chapel Hill. After all, diversity was and is a stated value and priority. And she had received the Distinguished Alumni Award here on University Day. But then powerful interests saw Nicole Hannah-Jones and what she stands for: fierce journalism, a focus on American history, its warts and all, and her honesty as a threat. Okay, then it got tough. Then it took some courage. And then loyalty came into play. As a dean, I was a leader here at this university. And clearly important people within the state and interests within the state did not want Nicole here. As a dean, I had to ask myself, was my loyalty to the university and keeping an embarrassing standoff over her tenure out of the public eye? Or, I asked the question, was my loyalty to Nicole, who through her years of journalism excellence as our graduate and her willingness to undergo the rigorous tenure review, is she the one who deserved my loyalty? And was my loyalty to the faculty at the journalism school, who stood with Nicole in the face of massive intrusion into shared university governance? Was my loyalty to the greater intellectual community that is UNC Chapel Hill, its medical and health schools, arts and sciences, the business school, all of whom stood behind Nicole and the value of a university? I had never seen the campus so united. And was my loyalty to you students? You want to learn from diverse and challenging faculty members. And was it to the alumni of the university who expect that ideas and not politics will dominate university leaders' decision-making? Well, it became pretty clear to me. My loyalty was and is with Nicole. My loyalty was and is with faculty. My loyalty was and is with you students. My loyalty was and is with the future of this great university. My commitment is to the ideal of the university, one that confronts power and ignorance wherever it exists. At times, the standoff with powerful interests here at Chapel Hill has been difficult, I have to say that. I felt abandoned by UNC leadership. I felt isolated by state leaders who clearly saw me either as uncooperative or a problem. But that difficult moment for me 2 years ago was not about me. It was about this institution and its future and your future. I lived through institutional cowardice, knowing that UNC has survived for more than 230 years, and it surely will survive for many more. I've come to believe deeply in UNC's mission to educate all the citizens of this state, no matter what their financial status, no matter what their race or identity, no matter what their religious or political beliefs. They're committed to the state and to the students of the state, and as the Constitution in our university says, to the people. I've seen what this university can do in individual lives of my students. I'm seeing some of you there. And I've seen what it can do for this state of North Carolina. It's simply been transformed in my lifetime from a tobacco and textile and manufacturing state into a modern center of pharmaceuticals and digital innovation. And it's attracting people from around the country to our state. For me, it's been the honor of a lifetime to have been a leader here at UNC, even during a turbulent time of change and challenge. I'm a journalist. I don't want to be bored. You never bored me. I've only had a small role in UNC's long history as an institution, and I'm so honored that you recognize both the courage and the loyalty of my service. I know one thing, Nicole Hannah-Jones' future is strengthened because we as UNC faculty and students stood with her against powerful forces who tried to stop her. She is leading an important journalism center for democracy at Howard University, one of the country's important HBCUs. I believe we as a university faculty are stronger for resisting those who wanted to set back the clock on questions of race and history, the role of journalism, and the importance of transparency in public life. I know this university will endure if we continue as a community that has the courage and the loyalty to the ideal. As I said, I was a bit player in this moment of UNC's history, and I am so proud to have had the opportunity to lead. And I'm really honored, really moved that you asked me to give this last lecture because you felt that I made a difference. What can anyone of us ask for more in a career than we made a difference? So I end, I promised you not 50 minutes, I end with my wish for you, that you have the courage to lead. The country and the state needs you. That you have loyalty to truth, and that you make a difference. Again, a personal and very deep thank you. And as a journalist, they said, would I answer questions? Of course. As somebody who also teaches PR, I might avoid. But no question is ever a stupid question, and no question is off, limits. So I'll try my best to answer if you have any. You'll just have to really project to be able to hear them.
So I'd love to ask what's next for you, or what's on your list of things you're still like to accomplish and lead on in life.
So what's next for me, and what do I want to accomplish? Well, I've taught incredible 2 classes this semester, and I guess this is where I'll announce it. This will be my last semester at UNC. I was hoping to stay and teach again the class that I designed during my break. But my family is in New York, New Jersey. And, I think we all learned a lot from the pandemic. And so my role really is to be with my family. Yesterday, all right, now I'm going to tell you how old I am. Yesterday, I met my husband in college. Took 5 years after college before he asked me to get married. You know. But yesterday was my 52nd wedding anniversary. And I was here 52 years. I was here, and he was in New York, New Jersey. When I started my career as a reporter moving to Washington, we moved on our anniversary. He stayed in Buffalo, New York, which is where his job was, and I moved to Washington. So I've done this a long time. I will stay active in journalism. I'll stay active in philanthropy. This is my passion, and I'm going to write. But right now, I'm not going to I've had so many jobs. Did you hear all those jobs I've had? Don't worry about your career. Take the first one and go with it. I've had every job you guys could ever want, I think. So next, not to be bored is my number one, and I'm living along the ocean in New Jersey. For those of you who love Bruce Springsteen, I am a Jersey girl. Sorry, born in Brooklyn, but grew up in New Jersey, and I'm a Jersey girl. And when I'm there, I walk 4 miles every day along the ocean. And it's just a privilege. So I'm going to be doing different things, but probably, I don't know exactly if there'll be something with the title. And that's sometimes very rewarding. But I'm going to stay around, and I'm more than happy to just answer anything individually. I see a hand up. One of the things they always tell you, when you're learning to teach the pedagogy is ask the question of the class and then wait, count to 30 when no hands come up. So, I'm giving you time. But I see one right there, Beige, right? Well, I have to say, I always wanted to be a reporter. And I wore blinders. I wanted to be a reporter. I started as a secretary, so I could type real fast. But I wanted to be a reporter and got a chance. And then I really rode the crest of the women's movement and had tremendous opportunities, which is why I'm so committed to diversity. I see the difference in newsrooms when you have a mix of people making decisions. It was so much fun to be a journalist. And, I just learned every day. I could cover the world. There's only one president I haven't covered, and that's Obama, because I wasn't working as a journalist. Remember, he came up from the state legislature and into Washington. I love being a witness to history, and there was nothing more fun when you're young and you have that kind of job to just around the clock. I covered the war in Nicaragua. I, traveled all over the world. I did documentaries in South Africa. Loved it. But then later on, you can make a difference. At Carnegie Corporation, New York, I was able to put $100 million into journalism education. That's how I became dean, because I felt with the digital transformation that's going on and the economic kind of disruption, that we really needed to put energy into the universities to really build new communicators. Social media has transformed our business. So I've loved the privileges I've had all through my career. And one thing I would say, I went into government reluctantly. If any of you have seen the Graduate movie, when she's walking down the aisle to get married and he goes up into the choir loft and she sees him and she runs out of church. I kept waiting for someone to pull me out of going to government. I kept waiting for the graduate moment. It didn't happen. And I went into government because I thought it'd be good to see the inside of something I had covered for all those years. And it transformed me because I went to run the family and medical leave. And the reason I was asked to do that was because I adopted my daughter and they wouldn't give me a maternity leave because I hadn't given birth. And so there were no rights for women in that. And it was pretty well known in Washington. And the family and medical leave, which was the first legislation that Bill Clinton passed, gave people the opportunity to take family and medical leave. So I did that and then was asked to go into government as assistant secretary, and I couldn't turn that down. And I found public service was a real calling. That's what I felt as a journalist. I was often a public servant, but I found government, you could make a real difference, and it was a very exciting piece to do. You just can't stay in very long because you begin to think you are owed something. It's a lot of work in government. And you owe the public. They don't owe you anything other than your time. So I've pretty much said every job I've had has been a pretty good one. So, that's why I sort of say, you're going to be working for 50 years. Build your careers, because each time you do something different, you bring all you've learned from the one before, and it makes your life so interesting. And I feel really, really blessed that I've had so many opportunities. But I will miss the classroom here on this campus. I know that. Yes, ma'am. One of my graduates. Okay. And so I'm going to translate that and shorten that question. It's like, you didn't talk about regrets, and I never do talk about regrets. I've made mistakes and I try to learn from them, but I don't regret. I did one story that I recently talked about that was a cheap story about President Daddy Bush, who I covered for a year and a half. And, it was a dumb story that I got pushed into telling. It was gossip, and it was below me. I wish I hadn't done that story, because it carried a lot of power in Washington, and I didn't have enough facts to really back it up. It was gossip. Anyway, so that's my one, that haunts me. There are haunts that way. In terms of making career decisions, that you don't regret, I think the one thing you don't do is you don't go and say, loyalty is not sort of built into corporate life. And when I started, my dad said, get a job and work your way up. And since when I was at the Department of Labor, we could see the big change in the way people work. There's no longer ladders, there's networks. So you keep learning from one thing and you build the network to another, and you work with different kinds of people. And that's part of what I tried to bring to the Hussman School. There's not one way, and we don't even know. I don't expect to have newspapers, 20 years from now. How many of you were reading a newspaper every morning? No. You're getting your information online. It used to be when you went abroad, I used to climb mountains. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro for my 40th birthday. That transformed me. There's nothing I can't do. I made it to the top. I saw civilization below me. It was powerful. But I used to stack up all the newspapers, the Washington Post, so when I came back, I'd read them, because I was afraid, how was I going to find out what went on and who won that basketball game, Now you get information when you want it. And so we have to prepare you to think differently. And so that's why I really feel, if you get a job and you don't like it, start looking, start networking, start seeing what other opportunities, but take all you learn. I didn't love being a secretary, but I'll tell you the big learning thing I had, I thought, I'm too smart for this dumb job. And my team was going out to do documentary work on the weekend. And part of what I needed to do was type up the list, of contacts they had. And I was like, oh, what a boring thing. I got to type up these things. Susan King, here's the telephone number. And I didn't double check. I didn't think it was that important. And two of the most critical telephone numbers had juxtaposition numbers. They couldn't reach them. Everything you do is important. And if you don't do it well, if you're sloppy, you'll do the big things sloppy. Learn from every little job you have. I have. So I'm going to come out there unless I see somebody doing this. Okay. It's like, this is what I learned to do in the White House press room. So to young journalists, what's my advice? First, remember who your audience is and tell them everything that you can learn. You got to have courage, because people are going to try to, push you around. And we're in a tough moment for journalism. There is It is the first vital line of democracy, so it really matters. We're the only, profession where you've got you're in the Constitution, so it's a pretty terrific field. Be flexible, but learn to write really well, because whether you're talking or you're doing newspaper work or TikTok, you got to learn how to talk tight and learn that words are important. But the main thing of all is serve your audience, make a mark on your time, have fun, and ask questions. There are no dumb questions, just dumb answers. I always reminded myself of that. All right, I'm going to come on down. Anybody who wants anything, I just don't want to make you all stay there because I would have had a picnic. I'll tell you what my first leadership job was. I went to an all-women's Catholic college, doesn't exist anymore, all women. And, we had all these things like we couldn't wear slacks on campus, can you believe? I wore a raincoat with cut-off jeans all the time. But my first leadership job was to open the bars in Tarrytown, New York. The nuns wouldn't let us go to the bars. And so my first act was to get permission to let us go to all of them. So this is when you could drink legally in New York at 18. And we learned to hold our liquor, I just want to say. And I often thought that we should be back to 18, because when you make something verboten until you're 21, it kind of like it puts too much emphasis on the wrong syllable. So I just want to say, have a really good time senior week. You can have really good time by being with the people that you're going to have as friends for life. The first thing I did when I took my leave was to call my roommates from college and some of the people that I loved during that time. I was very different than my roommates. I took a career that was very demanding, more than theirs. But they remain the people that I know are close to me and whose values I share. And so just look around you and make sure this week you really enjoy time with them, because it is a magical 4 years, maybe 5, depends on how long you've been here, but a magical time to learn from others that are like you and different from you, and you take them with you. So thanks very much for the privilege of my UNC career. Thank you. Wow.
Well, thank you, Dean King. I think we all, took away a lot from that, and it was amazing to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. This is just a token of our appreciation from the entire senior class.
Miss America.
I was also wondering if you're a senior marshal, and if you could run up here really quickly. We're going to need your help to do something that we all love to do at UNC. So if you can come up here really quickly, senior marshals. No, you have to be in it.
Oh, they're right in the back.
Oh, God, you can't hear me.
Okay, we have a lot coming up in the back, too. Everyone, so if you're not familiar with the senior class officers and senior marshals, all these wonderful people on stage are the ones who've planned and worked so hard for senior week. I hope you had fun yesterday at our couple of events and today, and I hope you have fun this entire week. Please come out this week. We've worked really hard, and this is all for you. So we are going to do Hark the Sound, and we ask that you all stand up really quickly and join us in that.
Hark the sound of Tar Heel voices.